Hello everyone, I'm Richard Mekdeci, and I suppose I will be interpreting this excerpt from Ralph Waldo Emerson's The Poet. And it begins with a beautiful poem about poets. It should be every poet's anthem. It goes like this. A moody child and wildly wise pursued the game with joyful eyes, which chose like meteors their way and rived the dark with private ray. They overleapt the horizon's edge, searched with Apollo's privilege, through man and woman and sea and star, saw the dance of nature forward far. Through worlds and races and terms and times, saw musical order and pairing rhymes. Olympian bards who sung divine ideas below, which always find us young and always keep us so. Those who fancy themselves good judges of taste usually know the names and dates of most familiar pictures or sculptures, or they know what is elegant, but they are not true poets. In fact, they are usually selfish and sensual. Their knowledge is limited to specific areas, as if you should rub a log of dry wood in one spot to produce a fire, and the rest of the log remaining cold. For them, the fine arts is a study of rules and particulars, and some limited judgment of color or form which they show off for amusement. When the doctrine of beauty falls into the minds of amateurs like this, we lose the perception of the dependence of our bodies upon the soul. We were put in our bodies as fire is put into a pan to be carried about, but the two are interdependent. Intellectual men don't believe there's any relationship between the material world and our thoughts and our choices. Rather than discuss the spiritual meaning of a ship or a cloud or of a city or even a contract, they prefer to stick to the solid ground of historical evidence. Even some poets are contented with this more civil and conformed view, and they'll write whatever they please, whether they have experienced or not. But the highest minds of the world, such as Orpheus, Empedocles, Heraclitus, Plato, Plutarch, Dante, and Swedenborg, consider all the meaning of every sensuous fact. For poets not here to carry the fire, for the poet is not here to carry the fire. The poet is not here to describe the fire. We are children of the fire, made of it, and nearly equal to it, even when we know least about it. And the idea that the fountains from which all this river of time and creatures flow are intrinsically ideal and beautiful, it calls us to consider the means and the materials the poet or the man of beauty uses to create art in the present time. For example, we should all be able to describe events and conversations we have accurately, yet to the common man, the poetic nuance usually doesn't stick long enough in his memory for him to relay it. But the poet can and does recall without impediment, and can relay what others dream vividly across a whole scale of experience. It's the poet's gift and his destiny. The universe has three children. They were born at the same time, and they appear under different names and different systems of thought, whether they be called cause, operation, effect, or Jove, Pluto, Neptune, mind, idea, expression, or Father, Son, and Spirit. For the poets, it is the knower, the doer, and the sayer, and these stand respectively for the love of truth, the love of good, and the love of beauty. These three are equal, and each is equally present within us. Beauty is the nature of the universe, and the poet is the one who speaks, names, and represents beauty. Therefore, the poet acts as the creator in his own right. For poetry was all written before time was. And whenever we are tuned in, we can hear it in the ethers like music and attempt to write it down as we hear it. But inevitably, we add our own word or verse, rewriting the heavenly poem. But the greatest of poets, they recall these heavenly cadences more accurately. And when they write them down, though still imperfect, they become songs of the nations. Every time we can draw a line in the sand, it has expression. All form is an expression of character. All condition, an expression of quality of life. All harmony, an expression of health. This is why any perception of beauty should express only the good. In this beautiful soul poem by Spencer, he tells us how the soul makes the body. So every spirit, as it is most pure, and hath in it the more of heavenly light, so it the fairer body doth procure, with cheerful grace and amiable sight. For of the soul and the body form doth take, for soul is form, and doth the body make. This describes the point at which spirit takes form, and oneness becomes diversity. You know, our science is sensual, and therefore it's superficial. We treat the earth and the heavenly bodies and physics and chemistry as if they were self-existent, but they are but an offspring of our soul. Therefore, science grows as man grows and keeps in step with metaphysics and religion. Science is just an index of our self-knowledge. Since everything in nature answers to a moral power, if any phenomenon seems dark or evil, like beauty, it is in the eye of the beholder. Thank you.